As a black man who worked in DEI and went on national TV to talk race, I thought I knew exactly why black fatigue was rising among white individualists until I learned one thing that made me realize the fatigue wasn't hate, it's literal mental exhaustion. Fatigue is not a resentment. It's actually what happens when your brain keeps being asked to process something it literally can't perceive. Think about a kid in math class. If I told you he had math fatigue, you'd be like, no shit. Math is a complex language. It gets harder every year, and if you weren't exposed to it early, you're probably cooked. That's not rocket science. That's psychology. There's actually a famous psychology study where kittens were raised wearing goggles, forcing them to see only vertical lines or horizontal lines. And honestly, if you already know about this study, drop a follow because we're locked in, you know what I'm saying? When those goggles were taken off the cats were literally blind to the lines they weren't exposed to. The horizontal line cats could jump on a chair but kept slamming into the legs, while the vertical line cats could avoid the vertical lines just fine but would miss the chair entirely. Researchers discovered the visual cortex developed feature detectors, neurons that respond only to patterns you're trained to see. So the brain ends up specializing and neglecting what it was never taught to learn. Well, culture, it works the same way. If you're raised in individualist culture, you're trained to see the personal responsibility, choice, agency. Reality is what you encounter. You try, you fail, you adjust. But if you're raised in a collectivist culture, you're trained to see relational reality. History is environment patterns, group memory. Reality is what the system produces. So when the individualists are told to see collective harm, it feels like they're failing a test written in the language they were never taught. And when the collectivists are told to see individual agency, it's like blaming one kid for a failed group project. It's not fair. So the fatigue is actually the mental workload of processing a foreign worldview. That's why the debates go nowhere. That's why you think you're arguing facts, but you're arguing into a void. And if we keep going down this path without talking about the lenses that people use to see, we're gonna keep hitting our heads against a brick wall. That's why I'm here. As a new dad who said, I'm gonna save the world for my baby girl, I started on this path to bridge the gap between individualism and collectivism by just growing the awareness. So, if you wanna bridge the gap, tap in with me.